Fox News alert, we are minutes away now from a hearing for suspected mass murderer James Holmes. Prosecutors say that he killed 12 people and that he injured dozens of others when he opened fire on a Colorado movie theater last summer. Who can forget when that news started to roll out? The reports now say that his defense team says they're not ready for an arraignment yet and that they could file for insanity in this case. The victims' families are urging Americans not to be fooled by that move.
I saw a lot of reports about how he's crazy. Don't make that mistake. He's not crazy. He's evil.
Janet Johnson is a criminal defense attorney licensed in Colorado. Randy Zellin is a former prosecutor. Welcome. Good to have both of you with us. Janet, what do you expect today, and what do you make of this move for a delay?
I think it's going to be granted because the judge doesn't want to make a reversible error. But what I think the defense is saying is they're going to probably enter a plea of insanity. But because they've just finished the preliminary hearing, their doctors probably need the information they just received. They need more time to get that together. But I think it's an inevitable event that's going to happen.
Randy, I mean, obviously, this man has exhibited behavior that, you know, most of us who are not psychiatrists would see as deranged. But everybody wants to make sure that there is justice served in this case. So how do you get there?
Well, first of all, unfortunately, I think oftentimes justice has little or nothing to do with what people ultimately want. But you make a great point. And here's the trick in Colorado. In Colorado, the prosecution has the burden of proving a defendant's sanity beyond a reasonable doubt. Typically, and you would think common sense, if I'm the defendant and I say, listen, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing. I had an irresistible impulse. I'm not responsible for what I've done. The burden's on me to prove that by what's called the preponderance of the evidence. So as a prosecutor, the bad news is the ball's in my court. I've got to prove it. The good news is, number one, I get full and unfettered access to the defendant to examine him. He waives the physician-client privilege. And you know what? There's plenty of evidence to show planning.
Yes, and that's exactly the point I wanted to bring up. Janet, you know, there's information that he bought his ticket for that movie 12 days prior, that he shot video and pictures of himself with a gun in advance of this action, and we know that he booby-trapped his whole apartment, so it was part of, you know, a scheme that had a part two, he hoped at the time. How relevant is all of that to sanity?
Well, I don't think it is in Colorado because there's two prongs. They can either say he didn't know right from wrong. He obviously knew right from wrong. They're not going to be able to pursue that. But the irresistible impulse that we just talked about, I think he's going to have a shot at that, to say, I knew that what these things that I was planning, I knew they were bad, but I couldn't control myself. The test is basically, if there's a policeman standing there, would you still commit the crime, knowing that you're about to get in trouble? I think he has a really good shot at that. Even the testimony this week was, you know, he didn't look like he knew what was going on. When the police confronted him, he said he was the Joker. I mean, that goes into, he's having a hard time telling what the reality is. Even though he knows he's about to do something bad, he can't stop himself. And I think he's going to prevail on that. And I think it's going to keep him from getting the death penalty, which is the ultimate goal here, not to get him off, but to stop him from getting the death penalty.
Yeah. All right, Randy and Janet, thank you very much. We'll be watching this court appearance coming up under an hour from now, we expect. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.
All right. John
Thank
Scott
you.
rolls your way in 13 minutes happening now. What's going on, John? Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you, Mr. Hemmer. That deadly flu outbreak sweeping across the country, you know it is bad. Well, the Centers for Disease Control out with a new assessment. We have the new numbers for you. Plus, new guidelines on the strength of sleeping pills that Americans rely on to get their Z's. Are they dangerous? What you need to know. We're also awaiting details on a meeting between Hamid Karzai and President Obama. We could get information today on how many troops will remain behind in Afghanistan after 2014. And Fox News Watch takes on the gun control debate, sweeping across the mainstream media like a wildfire. A fair and balanced look at the coverage that hasn't always been fair and balanced. That's coming up, happening now.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, John. Have a great weekend.
You too.
A first look at a new aircraft, how this airship could save the lives of U.S. forces deep in a war zone. Check that out.
And a big win for a young actress, how her priceless acceptance speech stole the show.
I just